I never thought I'd kill for family vacation. But when your own mother sells your soul to cover her gambling debts, you start sharpening the knife in ways no one sees coming. One minute I'm scraping pennies from a dead-end warehouse job to fund her dream Hawaiian getaway. The next I'm staring out from behind her Botox-smooth face, her designer handbag slung over my arm like a noose. And the real kicker? The body swap ritual she pulled from some black market occultist wasn't to save us. It was to frame me for her embezzlement, turning her golden girl into the fall guy while she danced off with the millions. It started in the sticky heat of a Chicago summer, the kind that clings to your skin like regret. I'm Dakota Hayes, 28, the invisible daughter who grew up in the shadow of Evelyn Hayes, my mom, the queen of suburban real estate empires. She built her fortune flipping McMansions in Naperville, all sharp suits and sharper smiles, while I mopped floors at a logistics firm on the South Side, dreaming of the day I'd escape her gravitational pull. That dream? It was tied to a single promise, her $6,200 trip to Maui, the one I banked every overtime hour for, because she swore it'd be our reset button. Mother-daughter bonding. She called it. Bullshit. Even then, I'd been funneling $1,000 a month into her vacation fund for over a year, skipping my own rent extensions and ramen dinners to make it happen. It wasn't charity, it was survival. Evelyn had a way of guilting you into her orbit, her voice like honeyed venom over the phone. Dakota, baby, how's a girl supposed to breathe without a little sun? You're all I have. All she had, try all she controlled. My credit score tanked from co-signing her business loans. My social circle shrank because she'd badmouth me at every PDA echo chamber she still haunted. And don't get me started on the online humiliation. Her Facebook rants were legendary. Posts tagging me in memes about ungrateful millennials leeching off boomers, complete with crying emojis and hashtags like "Mom guilt is real." Friends liked them, shared them, laughed at the cartoon version of me she painted, lazy, entitled, a disappointment in yoga pants. But I swallowed it. For the trip. For the illusion of family. Until the night she called me to her Lake Shore Drive penthouse, the one she'd borrowed my identity to buy, and everything shattered like cheap crystal. Dakota, we need to talk, she said, her voice syrupy over the intercom as I buzzed up from the lobby, sweat-soaked from the L train. The elevator ride felt eternal, mirrors reflecting my faded jeans and thrift store tea back at me. A stark contrast to the marble-floored empire waiting above. When the doors slid open, she was there in a silk robe, champagne flute in hand, the city skyline glittering like a taunt behind her. Sit, honey. She patted the leather sectional, but her eyes, those cold blue chips, darted to the antique side table, where a velvet pouch spilled out strange, etched stones and a dog-eared book that smelled of incense and desperation. I sat,
perching on the edge. Mom.
It's late. What's this about the trip? I hit the goal last week. Tickets are booked for next month. She laughed, a tinkling sound that didn't reach her face.
Oh.
The trip. Yes, darling. But plans change. She poured me a glass, sliding it over with manicured nails.
Drink.
It'll make this easier. The wine was tart, laced with something metallic I couldn't place. As I sipped, she launched into it, the betrayal uncoiling like a snake in the garden. Turns out, Evelyn hadn't just been flipping houses, she'd been cooking the books for years, siphoning client funds into offshore accounts to feed her poker habit in Vegas basements.
Million.
Gone in bluffs and bad beats. The feds were closing in, tipped off by a jilted accountant she'd ghosted. But she had to fix me. "You've always been so pliable," she said, pacing now, her robe whispering against the floor. "I used your social security for the shell companies. Baby. A few signatures here. A loan there, poof. You're the face on the paperwork. When they come knocking, it'll look like you masterminded it all." The sad, struggling daughter dipping into escrow for her big break. My stomach twisted, the wine burning up my throat.
Mom.
What the hell? That's fraud.
Prison time.
You can't just. I can. And I will, she snapped, her mask slipping. Unless you help me vanish. Clean slate. New life. There's this. Contact. An old client from the spiritualist circuit. He knows a ritual, ancient, they say. Body swap. We switch for a month.
Tops.
You take the heat in my skin. I slip away in yours. By the time they catch up, I'm Evelyn who?
And you're. Well.
The villain gets what's coming. It sounded insane. Ripped from a bad Lifetime movie. But Evelyn wasn't one for jokes. She'd dabbled in the woo-woo since Dad split, tarot readings for closing deals, smudging the office after foreclosures. This was deeper, darker, a pact with some shadow world fixer who'd lost his license after a miracle gone wrong. The stones on the table hummed faintly when she arranged them. The book opened to a page of Latin scrawls and anatomical diagrams that made my head spin. I bolted for the door, but she was faster, pinning me with a grip like iron. Drink the rest, Dakota. Or I post the evidence tonight, your confession emails I forged. Daughter dearest goes rogue. The internet will eat you alive before the cuffs do. The room blurred as the drug hit. My limbs heavy, vision tunneling to her triumphant smile. She chanted the words, the air thickening with ozone and whispers, the stones glowing like embers. Pain lanced through me, fire in my veins. A wrenching twist like my skeleton was being remolded. Then nothing. Blackness. I woke to silk sheets and the scent of Chanel No. 5. My hands, her hands, fluttering before my eyes. Flawless and foreign. In the vanity mirror, Evelyn's face stared back, 52 going on 35. Thanks to fillers and denial. I touched the lips that had spewed venom, felt the lift of cheekbones I'd envied in secret. And, across the room, slumped in my old body, was me, unkempt hair, calloused palms, the weight of every unpaid bill etched into the slump of shoulders. It worked. God help me. It worked. Panic clawed first, then fury. Shimi, stirred, eyes fluttering open to my old face twisted in confusion. Dakota?
What? Oh.
Perfect. Her voice was mine, rough from warehouse dust, but the lilt was all Evelyn, scheming, satisfied. She stood, wobbling in my sneakers, and grinned.
Now.
Play the part, Evelyn. The feds have a meeting tomorrow. Sign whatever they shove at you. I'll wire the funds from your accounts. Mine now and be sipping my ties by dawn. She grabbed my purse, no. Her purse, rifling for keys. Phone. The velvet pouch, she'd need to reverse it later. 1 month. Baby. Then we swap back. And you're the hero who turned state's evidence. Minimal time. Maybe community service. I'll even visit. Liar. I saw it in the flicker of her eyes. The way she clutched the pouch like a lifeline. She'd never swap back. This was erasure, me, the patsy, rotting in Supermax while she rebuilt in some Bahamian villa. My life a discarded husk. As she sauntered to the door, whistling show tunes, something snapped. Not just rage, clarity. I'd spent years as her shadow, her scapegoat, her punchline. The online trolls who'd called me a leech, fed by her scripts. The loans that buried me in debt, her escape hatches. Even Dad's abandonment. Turns out she'd driven him off with affairs she blamed on my acting out as a teen. I'd carried it all, silent, because blood's thicker than water. But this, stealing my skin, that was the line. I lunged, tackling her, me, to the floor. The pouch skittered away, stones scattering like dice in a loser's game. "What are you?" she gasped, my old voice cracking. I pinned her wrists, her slider frame no match for the Pilates-toned fury of her body. "You think you can just walk, take my face, and flush mine down the toilet?" Her eyes widened,
Calculating.
"Dakota,
Think.
this is for us. Family sticks together." "Family?" I laughed, bitter and breaking. "You auction me off for blackjack tables.
But fine.
Let's play family." I snatched her phone, my old flip model, now in her manicured grip, and saw the draft post, a selfie in my body. Captioned, "New me. Fresh start. Body positivity, mom life wins. Time to go live at midnight." Tagging every realtor in the Midwest. Complete with forged before pics of me looking strung out. I deleted it, then scrolled her, my contacts. There it was. Fixer, no callbacks. The occultist. I hit dial. Speaker on. While she thrashed beneath me. A gravelly voice answered. "Payment wired?" "Change of plans," I said. Evelyn's polished timbre, masking the tremor. "Double the dose." "Permanent bind," she bucked, screaming.
No.
"Dakota, you bitch." The line clicked.
Done.
"Chant the seal at dawn." I hung up, shoving a throw pillow over her mouth until she stilled, eyes bulging with betrayal. "Not dead, I'm no killer. Not yet, but unconscious. Zip-tied with her own Hermes scarf." As sirens wailed distant in the night, I dragged her to the guest room, barricaded the door, and settled into the life she'd stolen. Dawn broke bloody over the lake, and I whispered the words from the book, the stones pulsing hot in my palm. Her body convulsed in the mirror's reflection, my reflection now, while across the hall, faint moans echoed from my old shell.
Permanent.
No reversal. Evelyn Hayes, real estate titan,
Was gone.
Dakota Hayes, in her skin, was just getting started. The feds arrived at 10 sharp. 2 suits in off-the-rack navy, badges glinting like judgment. I greeted them in Evelyn's cream blouse and pencil skirt, hair swept into a chignon that screamed innocence.
Agents.
"Thank God." "Come in, coffee." They exchanged glances. The older one, Mulroney, salt and pepper mustache, nodding warily. "MS.
Hayes.
We have questions about discrepancies in your escrow accounts. Client funds, missing. Signatures traced to
Well.
your daughter." I feigned a gasp, hand to throat. "Dakota?
Oh. No.
She's been spiraling, gambling. I think. I cut her off months ago, but she must have." Tears welled, Oscar-worthy, as I led them to the study, papers fanned like a confession on the desk. Mulroney flipped through, brow furrowing. This looks bad. Wire transfers to offshore casinos. All under her SSN. You co-signed. Reluctantly, I sighed, sinking into the Eames chair. Family? You know, but I suspected. That's why I called you last week. Anonymous tip line. The younger agent, Ramirez, perked up. You did. Couldn't let it fester. I slid over a USB drive, Evelyn's real ledgers, digitized that morning while she pounded futilely on the guest door. Everything's here. Dates, amounts, even voicemails where she begs for more. They took it, murmuring about warrants, while I played the distraught matriarch, wringing hands, quoting Bible verses on betrayal. By noon, they were gone, promising updates, and I was alone with the pounding from down the hall. I waited until dusk, then entered with a tray, water, sedatives crushed into yogurt. She, my old body, huddled in the corner, wild-eyed, tracksuit sagging off frame. Dakota, she hissed, voice raw. This is insane. Let me go, we can fix it. I knelt, Evelyn's knees creaking in a way I'd never noticed, and spooned yogurt toward her lips. Fix it? Like you fixed Dad's heart attack with your stress excuses? Or how you framed Aunt Lila for that DUI to snag her commission? Her eyes narrowed. How had I never seen that predatory glint in my own face? You don't know half of it.
Girl.
The ritual? It came with strings. The fixers got dirt, videos. The kind that'd bury us both.
Us.
I laughed, forcing the spoon in. She choked.
Swallowed.
Glare turning glassy as the drugs hit. There is no us. You're Dakota now. The junkie daughter who cracked under pressure. Cops'll find you tomorrow, confessing on video to the thefts. Pills scattered. Note blaming mom's control. Tragic.
Right?
Family feud gone wrong. As she slumped, I propped my phone on a tripod. Hitting record. In her slurred mumble, I coaxed the lies, admissions of fraud, resentment rants, even a tearful, I did it for the trip she never deserved. Posted it to her, my Facebook at midnight, tagging the feds, the press, every busybody in her feed. The comments flooded in, shock, sympathy for poor Evelyn, calls for justice. Hashtag trended by 2 a.m. But revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed. I stepped into her world fully, then board meetings at the brokerage, schmoozing at Gold Coast galas. Her Rolodex a map to buried sins. First target, the client she'd screwed. Widows left homeless after foreclosure flips, veterans stiffed on VA loans. I funneled restitution from her slush funds. Anonymous drops that whispered her name in the right ears. Whispers turned to lawsuits. Her empire cracking like eggshell. The occultist called next week.
Voice oily.
Bind set. But payments due, 50 grand. Or the reversal curse hits. You wake up. Changed. I wired it from her Cayman account, then traced his IP to a walk-up in Pilsen. No confrontation, just a tip to the CPD about suspicious artifacts in his unit. Raids make for good press, he vanished. Pouch and all. Into witness protection. Loose end tied. Evelyn, trapped in me, deteriorated fast. Warehouse shifts in my body broke her. She called out sick, then quit. Holing up in my old studio apartment. Walls papered with printouts of the viral posts. I visited once. In disguise. Dropping off groceries laced with just enough benzos to keep her foggy. Why? She croaked. Face gaunt in the mirror of my sallow skin. Because you taught me, I said, Evelyn's voice a purr. survival of the fittest. Or in your case, the fakest. By month's end, the arrest came. SWAT at dawn. Busting through her door, my door, to find Dakota Hayes mid-overdose. Laptop open to the confession vid looping. Pills everywhere. A suicide note in her scroll. Mom never believed in me. This is her fault. The media frenzy was biblical, cable news panels debating toxic motherhood, therapists blaming helicopter parenting, Evelyn's friends posting tributes to my bravery in coming forward. She got 15 years. Plea deal for the fraud. Enhanced for the attempted suicide that screamed guilt. I attended the sentencing in her Chanel suit, dabbing crocodile tears as the judge banged the gavel. A cautionary tale, he intoned. The press ate it up. I was hailed as the whistleblower mom, booked for podcasts, even a TED Talk slot on forgiveness.
But the twist?
It gnawed at me in the quiet hours, alone in her penthouse with its hollow echoes. I'd won, her empire mine. Debts erased. The trip, I took it solo, my ties tasting like ash on Waikiki sands. Yet scrolling her feed one night, a buried email surfaced, from Dad, dated a decade back. Evelyn, the accident wasn't my fault. Dakota saw it. Tell her the truth, or I'll make you the accident. My brother's death, the one I'd blamed myself for since I was 16. Car crash on I-90, him behind the wheel, me in the passenger seat screaming about the deer. But the email attached photos, skid marks wrong, brake lines cut clean. Evelyn's handwriting on a garage receipt, time-stamped the night before. She'd done it for insurance, to bury his budding addiction that threatened her perfect family brand. And me? She'd gaslit me into silence. Therapy bills in my name, convincing me my hysteria caused the wreck. I'd taken the fall for her murder. All these years, the guilt, the therapy, the way she'd weaponized my fragility to keep me small. The body swap wasn't just theft, it was her final con, forcing me to live her lie while she escaped mine. Rage renewed. I visited her in Supermax. Plexiglass between us. Her face, my face, haggard under fluorescent buzz. The accident, I said, voice low. You cut the lines. For the payout. She leaned in, eyes gleaming with that old cunning. Prove it, Mom. You're me now. Enjoy the view from the top. Or are you still the scared little girl? I smiled. Evelyn's perfect teeth flashing.
Oh.
I am you. And you're done. The appeal hearing was a circus. I testified, reluctantly producing the emails. The receipt planted evidence. Sure. But who'd question the grieving mother? Her lawyers screamed tampering. The judge saw newly discovered evidence. Mistrial granted. Charges escalated to first-degree murder. Life without parole. As they led her away, shackles clinking on my old ankles, she twisted back, mouthing, "Monster. Maybe." But in her skin, I felt alive, power thrumming like the ritual's afterglow. I sold the penthouse, donated half to victims' funds, kept the rest for a quiet life upstate. Therapy now's for real, unpacking the Evelyn in me, the scars she etched. The trip money? Funneled to scholarships for kids like I was, trapped daughters breaking free. Was it justice or just another swap? Hero or villain in borrowed flesh? The debates rage online still, Evelyn Gate forums dissecting my turnaround, accusing me of Munchausen by proxy or worse. I lurk sometimes, anonymous, stirring the pot with outs. Let them argue. In the end, The only truth is this: betrayal cuts deepest from the hand that rocked you.
And revenge?
It's the scar that teaches you to wield the blade. The upstate cabin smelled of pine and fresh starts. But some nights, the wind through the eaves whispered Evelyn's laugh, pulling me back to the city I'd fled. It had been 6 months since the mistrial, her face plastered on true crime docs as the swap mom killer. Ironic, since the swap was the one detail they couldn't touch. The media spun it as delusion, her ravings about body possession dismissed as jailhouse psychosis. I watched one episode curled on the couch, a quilt for my grandma, Evelyn's mom, who died suspicious of her golden child lies, draped over knees that still felt wrong.
Wrong.
That's the word for it all. Her body moved like a puppet on strings I hadn't mastered, the way her hips swayed unbidden in crowds, drawing eyes I didn't want, the migraines from her migraine Botox wearing off, the phantom itches where my tattoos used to be, inked in a rebellious phase she'd lasered away without asking. I caught myself in mirrors, practicing smiles that weren't mine, wondering if the ritual had swapped souls or just amplified the imposter in us both. Life as Evelyn Hayes 2.0 was a tightrope. I'd shuttered the brokerage, rebranded as a philanthropy consultant, funneling her ill-got gains into quiet causes, addiction recovery for gamblers like her, legal aid for framed kids. It bought goodwill, kept the wolves at bay. But the power? It lingered. A low hum. Board seats offered. Politicians calling for inspirational fundraisers. I took them selectively, wielding her Rolodex like a scalpel, carving out favors that echoed her old games but bent toward light. Until the call from Aunt Lila. Voicemail. Hesitant. Dakota?
It's.
Well, you know. Heard about Evelyn. The trial.
God.
The things they say. But listen, I found something in the attic. Your dad's old box. Come down? Before I torch it. Lila lived in the old family manse in Oak Park. A Victorian relic Evelyn had eyed for flips before Dad's accident soured the inheritance. I drove down in her Lexus, traded the Porsche for something less flashy, windows down. Wind whipping secrets from the trees. The house loomed, gables like accusing fingers, and Lila met me on the porch, hug tentative, her eyes scanning my face for the niece she'd known. You look
good, she said,
pouring tea in the kitchen, steam curling like ghosts. Different. Stronger. I sipped, the chamomile bitter. Therapy. And distance. She nodded. Too quick. Then led me to the attic stairs. Dust motes dancing in slants of light. The box was battered cardboard, labeled Frank Miscellaneous in Dad's block print. Inside, photos yellowed at edges. Me as a gap-toothed kid on his shoulders, ticket stubs from White Sox games, a stack of letters tied with twine, addressed to him from Evelyn, pre-marriage, gushing about our future empire. And at the bottom, a flash drive. Lila plugged it into her ancient Dell, screen flickering to life with grainy footage, home video, time-stamped the night of the crash. Dad in the garage, tools spread, humming Sinatra. Then Evelyn, slipping in shadow silent, pliers in gloved hand, snipping brake lines with clinical precision. No sound, but her lips moved, for the boy. Clean break. The camera panned, catching my small face in the doorway. Frozen. Before I backed away. Unseen. My hands shook, cup clattering.
She.
I thought it was the deer. She said, Lila's arm around me. Voice steel. She said a lot. Buried your brother to hide his habit. Blamed you to keep Frank in line. When he found out. Post-crash. She drove him to drink. The heart attack?
Stress.
She claimed. But I saw the bottles she spiked. The flood then tears hot. Evelyn's mascara running black. I'd carried that guilt like a millstone. The crash. The screams. Tommy's broken neck. Therapy unpacked the gaslighting. But this?
Proof.
Evelyn hadn't just betrayed me. She'd architected our family's ruin. Me the keystone holding the lies. Why keep it? I whispered. Lila shrugged. Weary. Waited for you to be ready. Evelyn's kind. They don't fall without a push. I left with the drive. Hugging her fierce. Promising dinners that never came. Too risky. Trails too fresh. Back north. I poured over it. Frame by frame. Rage coiling anew. The online humiliation? Child's play compared to this. She'd posted my therapy updates as inspirational drivel, twisting my pain into her brand. Overcoming with Evelyn, while she deleted my pleas for help from the comments. Enough. The controversial decisions started here. The ones that'd spark forum wars if leaked. First, the deepfake. I hired a hacker from a dark web forum, Cash. No traces, to splice the garage vid into new evidence. Evelyn's voiceover. Confessing not just to Tommy, but to Dad's accident, layering in audio from her voicemails. Pitch shifted to match. It looked real. Timestamp glitches explained by recovered security cam. Leaked anonymously to a podcaster sniffing the case. It dropped mid-appeal hearing. Chaos erupting as bailiffs cleared the courtroom. Evelyn's lawyers cried foul, demanding forensics. But the damage stuck. Public opinion flipped from tragic addict daughter to calculated matriarch. Protests outside the jail. Signs reading, "Justice for the Hayes kids." I fanned the flames from burner accounts. Seeding doubts. Heard Evelyn had occult ties. Body swap cults? Explains the crazy rants. The occult angle? My insurance. I'd burned the book and stones that first week. Ashes scattered in the lake. But whispers lingered. A journalist from the Tribune emailed. Sources say Evelyn consulted a spiritual advisor pre-arrest. Any truth? I met her in a Wrigleyville dive. Evelyn's poise cracking just enough to drop hints. Desperate times. But swaps? That's Hollywood. She bit. Ran a piece tying it to Chicago's underground mystic scene, bearing the swap as urban legend. Meanwhile, Evelyn rotted. Appeals denied. Solitary for agitation. I visited again. This time with the drive. Playing it silent on my tablet. Her eyes devouring the betrayal. You, she mouthed. Veins bulging in my old neck.
How?
Family secrets, I said, tapping the glass. Like the one where you poison Dad's scotch with digoxin. Night nurses slip covering your tracks. Found the vile receipt in his box. Lie half true. Lila's hunch, but her flinch sold it. He was weak. Like you. Weak. I leaned in, breath fogging plexi.
I saved for your trip while you bled me dry.
Posted my breakdowns for likes. But this? You're the monster. Evelyn. And I'm the mirror. She lunged then. Forehead cracking glass. Guards hauling her back screaming profanities in my voice. The visit ended her privileges. Isolation deepened. Her mind fracturing in echoes of the swap. But power corrupts,
they say.
Mine started small, dipping into her remaining accounts for charity, skimming 10% for a rainy day fund, My real escape. A cabin in the Cascades. Identity scrubbed. Then bigger. Leveraging her contacts for a city council bid. Reform candidate on a platform of family protection laws. Controversial? Hell yes. Bills mandating financial transparency in households. No more hidden debts on kids. Opponents called it nanny state overreach. Supporters hailed the savior. I won by a landslide. Evelyn's charm my secret weapon. The tension built in stolen moments. Nightmares where I woke in my old body. Pounding on doors that wouldn't open. Therapy sessions where the shrink probed imposter syndrome, oblivious to the literal truth. And the online shadow? It grew. Trolls dug. Unearthing old posts, Evelyn's humiliations resurfaced as Dakota's victim diary, fueling cancel Evelyn campaigns that boosted my polls. Climax brewed at the inauguration gala. Champagne flutes and backroom deals. When an envelope slid under my hotel door, photos of me, Evelyn's me, in the ritual circle, time-stamped that fateful night. No note, but the sender's watermark, Supermax commissary stamp. She'd smuggled it out, through a guard or inmate whisper network, the cunning never dying. My hands, her hands, trembled as I burned them in the sink. Flames licking up lies. But the damage? A leak to the press. Anonymous. Hayes Sr. In Satanic Rite, body swap cover-up. The storm hit dawn, headlines screaming, Mayor-elect's occult past, protests at City Hall. Calls for resignation. I face the cameras. Evelyn's face a mask of sorrow. Smears from a desperate killer. My daughter's illness twisted facts. Seek help. Not hate. It worked. Barely, supporters rallied. Fact checks debunked the satanic spin as QAnon bait. But the twist loomed. The reversal I'd half-dreaded. It came in a letter. Forwarded from the cabin. Lila's handwriting.
Shaky.
Dakota found more. Evelyn's journal. Hidden in the man's safe. Read before you decide. Overnight FedEx. Leather-bound. Pages yellowed with her looping script. Entries from the 90s. Affairs. Forgeries. Tommy's problem detailed clinically. Must excise the rot. Then, post-crash, Dakota saw. Useful pawn. Gaslight into guilt. Bind her loyalty. But the gut punch. Dated last year. The ritual? Not for escape. For her. Dakota's cancer. Terminal. Doc said. Swap to give her my body. My life. She'd never take the fight. Too weak. Now she'll live. Hate me for it. Win-win. Cancer. The fatigue I'd chalked up to stress. The bruises from clumsy falls. Tests post-swap confirmed. Stage for lymphoma. Aggressive. Her body's betrayal I'd inherited without knowing. She'd known, biopsy results in her files. Hidden. The swap wasn't theft. It was mercy. Twisted through her lens. Frame me? No. Give me her health. Her power. At the cost of her freedom. The humiliations? To toughen me. Forge the spine she'd see through bars. The world inverted. Villain to victim. My rage to grief. I confronted the journal's final page. Her scrawl. If she reads this, tell her, I lied to save you. Hate's easier than goodbye.
Bi kịch o có hậu.
I chose both. Drop the charges on appeal. New evidence of coercion. Evelyn freed on technicality. But the cancer? It was mine now. Chemo starting quiet. She found the cabin, gaunt in my old frame, knocking soft. Dakota. We talked through the door first. Truths spilling like rain. Inside. Hugs awkward. Bodies foreign. She explained, the debt's real. But the swap her last gambit against my death sentence. Couldn't watch you fade. Better you hate a ghost. Forgiveness? Partial. We split the remnants. Her to rehab. Me to treatment. A fragile truce. The mayoralty? Resigned. Scandal too deep. But the laws passed anyway. Ending debatable. Redemption or delusion. Online. They argue. Swap sisters versus Evelyn scam.
Me?
I argue with mirrors, wondering whose soul stares back. But in the quiet, saving for a new trip together, this time I breathe easier. Blood's thicker than water, but love, it's the current that carries you home. The chemo suite in Rochester smelled of antiseptic hope and wilted flowers, for drips beeping like impatient metronomes. I sat in the recliner. Evelyn's veins, my veins now, punctured and taped, staring at the Hudson Valley through fogged windows. 6 cycles in, and the mirror showed a stranger, cheekbones sharper, eyes hollowed, but alive. Her body fought like a warrior, the lymphoma retreating inch by grudging inch. Doctors called it a miracle. I called it borrowed time. Evelyn visited weekly, driving down from her halfway house in Syracuse. My old body bundled in flannel she'd never worn right. Our talk started stilted, weather, recipes from Lila, then cracked open, the journal's revelations dissected like autopsy slides. Why not tell me? I'd ask. Voice raspy from nausea. The cancer? Let me choose. She'd fiddle with styrofoam cups. My calloused fingers clumsy on the rim. Choice. You'd have said no. Fought it alone. Like Tommy. Like Frank. I fixed it my way, harsh. But final. Fixed. Her word for everything. The brake lines fixed to end Tommy's spiral. Dad's stress eased by eviction from his own life. My future secured by theft of flesh. Controversial didn't cover it. It was monstrous calculus. Ends justifying the abyss. Yet here we were, mother and daughter in inverted skins, negotiating peace over vending machine coffee. The outside world? A pressure cooker. My resignation from the council tented headlines. Hayes Air steps down amid occult claims, but the leaks kept dripping. That podcaster, hungry for clicks, dropped an episode, the ritual tapes, splicing inmate calls where Evelyn ranted about stolen years. Audio doctored. Sure. But convincing. Her voice, mine hysterical. Accusing the imposter mayor of satanic pacts. Listeners flooded hotlines. Conspiracy boards lit up with body snatcher Evelyn, tying it to everything from Epstein lists to chemtrails. I lawyered up. Evelyn too. But the damage seeped. Old clients suing for fraudulent restitution, Lila fielding death threats from truthers who saw her as the swap enabler. We hunkered. Phones off. But tension coiled. The antagonist in this act wasn't Evelyn anymore. It was the echo of her empire. The secrets she'd buried now clawing free. It fractured at the family reunion Lila insisted on. Oak Park manse dressed in autumn leaves. Turkey thawing like uneasy truces. Cousins. Aunts. Faces from a childhood blurred by Evelyn's spotlight gathered. Whispers dying when we walked in arm in arm. Her in my frame. Me in hers. You too. Swap vibes. One joked. Wine loose. But eyes darted. The journal's shadow long. Dinner devolved. Uncle Ray, Dad's brother, cornering me in the den. Heard the tapes. Evelyn's crazy. But you? Covering for her? After what she did to Frank. I poured scotch, his brand, hands steady. what she did, or what we all let slide. He deflated, spilling then Dad's suspicions. Post-crash diaries detailing Evelyn's games, affairs with clients. Funds siphoned for Tommy's treatments that were really payoffs to dealers. He confronted her. Said he'd go public. Next week.
Gone. Heart attack.
They ruled. But the scotch spiked. I finished. The vile receipt burning in memory. Ray nodded, tears cutting tracks. I stayed quiet. For the family, the betrayal deepened. A chasm, not just Evelyn, but the web she'd spun. Enablers like Ray complicit in silence. I stormed the table. Journal thumped down amid pie slices. Read it. All of it. Tommy's murder. Dad's poison. My cancer, she hid to save me. We're all pawns or monsters. Chaos. Plates clattering. Accusations flying. Lila defended. She acted alone, but cousin sided with Ray. Enablers? We're victims. Evelyn, silent in my corner, finally spoke. Enough. My sins. Not yours. But it was. The night ended in fractures. Ray disowned. Cousins unfriended. Lila alone with ghosts. Driving back. Rain lashing. Evelyn broke. See? My fix breaks everything. Yours, I snapped. But now mine to mend. Or end. The decision loomed. Controversial core. Expose it all? Full truth swap. Ritual. The occult underbelly. To shatter the lies. Free us? Or bury deeper? Let the cancer win quietly. Evelyn fade into obscurity. I chose fracture. Hire the hacker again. This time for dissemination, the real garage vid.
Journal scans.
Even ritual book excerpts anonymized as family lore. Dropped to WikiLeaks-style sites. Tagged Haze Unraveled. The web ignited, CNN panels debating, occult inheritance fraud, psychologists on generational trauma swaps, ethicists on mercy via manipulation. Evelyn's reaction? Fury first, then resignation. You'll kill us both. Maybe, I said, packing for Rochester. But alive. Climax built in the fallout. Feds reopening Dad's case. Exhumation orders for talk screens. Tommy's old dealer flipping for immunity. Corroborating payoffs. Evelyn hauled in for questioning. My body cuffed in holding cells. Her denials drowned in evidence. The press camped our cabin. Drones buzzing like vultures. Then the antagonist emerged, not Evelyn, but her fixer. The occultist. Resurfacing via a burner call. You burn my tools. Leaked my rights. Now pay, the binds fraying. Swap back. Or both bodies fail. Cancer returns. Tenfold. Bluff. Or truth. The journal hinted at it. Rituals cost. Equilibrium of souls. Tests post-call showed spikes. Tumor stirring. Evelyn complaining of phantom pains in my old frame. Bruises blooming, unexplained. Tension peaked in a midnight meet. Abandoned warehouse on the industrial edge. Ironic echo of my old job. He waited. Hooded. Stones rattling in a new pouch. Choose, reverse, or rot. I arrived strapped. Evelyn's pearl-handled derringer in her purse. A relic from her protection phase. Reverse? And what back to her cell? Me to death. He chuckled. Gravel. Her choice. Mercy killer. That one.
But you?
Thief now. Words hung. Then the shot, warning. Into crates. He lunged. Chant starting. But I fired true. Center mass. No gore in memory. Just slump and silence. Pouch spilling harmless. Self-defense. I'd claim. Body vanished in the calumet. Stones sunk. Twist reversed again, his phone. Buzzing in pocket. Text from Evelyn. Post journal. End it. For her. She'd orchestrated the confrontation. Final fix to free me from her skin. Her sins. The cancer? Hers originally. Hidden to force the swap. But rebounding now. Ravaging both. The double funeral was a media circus. Rain-slicked gravesides in Oak Park under leaden November skies. Umbrellas bobbing like black mushrooms. Not Evelyn's, mine. In a way, but the fixer's. Unidentified John Doe. Buried courtesy of a sympathetic coroner. And the symbolic, Tommy and Dad's headstones. Fresh engravings for belated justice. I stood alone. Her body frail, underwool coat. Chemo port itching like accusation. No Evelyn. She'd vanished post-shootout. My old frame a ghost in the wind. Leaving a note. Fix your own now. Live. The reversal hit hardest then. Truth inverting like a Mobius scar. Her journals lie within lie. The cancer wasn't mercy. It was leverage. Scans pre-ritual showed early stage in me. Treatable. But she'd exaggerated to docs. Forged reports to prove terminal. Forcing my hand in the swap.
Why?
Not love control. Live in her skin. Inherit her wars. Become the monster to end her cycle. You were always stronger, her note confessed. I made you prove it. Debate fodder for eternity. Villain's redemption or ultimate gaslight. Forum split. Evelyn hero for this sacrificial twist. Dakota doomed, decrying the manipulation. I lurked less. Therapy more. Unpacking the bind. Souls tangled. Bodies prisons we'd traded willingly. Unwillingly. Life post-fracture? Tense. But mine. The council reforms pass sans me. Anti-fraud bills echoing my rants. Lila's sole demands. Split proceeds. Half to victims. Half my rainy fund, now a trust for at-risk families. I wrote a memoir. Ghosted as Evelyn's shadow. Anonymized. Proceeds to lymphoma research.
It's sold.
Controversial as hell. Reviewers calling it brilliant psychodrama or exploitative fiction. Let them. Words were my new blade. The trip? We took it. Evelyn and I know. Just me and her body. Maui's sands a solo vigil. My ties swapped for green juice. Sunsets watched with journal pages fluttering in breeze. Forgiveness? Partial. Like the bind, loose but lingering. Dreams still swapped us, me in rags. Pounding penthouse doors, her in silk. Laughing at my pleas. Awake. I trace scars, chemo ports. Tattoos lasered, wondering whose reflection won. Chow Treo's echo faded, but tension simmered. A final package. Postmarked Syracuse. Inside, the velvet pouch. Stones warm. A note in her, my hand. Unbind if you dare. Or keep the power. Chant or burn. I chose fire. Ashes to the trade winds. But felt the pull, a whisper. Daughter. Ending? No tidy bow. Happy in survival. By Kitch and the Cost. I drive now. Upstate roads, winding. Radio humming Springsteen, Dad's anthems. Online. The argument rages. Was the swap salvation or damnation? Heroic ploy or patriarchal poison? Evelyn's misogyny. Flipped.
Me?
I drive on. Body humming with borrowed vigor. Secrets chiseled, but not silenced. Revenge taught me. The deepest cut heals crooked, but it heals. And in America's grind, Chicago concrete to island escape, the real twist is this: we all swap skins daily. Masks for the monsters within. Choose yours wisely, or someone will choose for you.